Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Night Vision Open Forum. We're excited to see everyone today. I'm going to go ahead and share a presentation with you. We have a lot to share today, and we're excited about it. All right, so welcome. Let me first I'll introduce myself. I'm Sherry Heron. I'm the Program Director for Night Vision. And first thing I'd like to share with you is that you can submit questions in the Q&A. And you can vote those questions up. And so we will be answering as many questions as we can at the end of this presentation. And any questions we cannot answer or due to time constraints, we will be posting those on our website. And it will take us a few days to answer them all and post them there. All right. So we're going to start with a message from our Provost. Then we'll talk a little bit about the Night Vision program. And then we'll start with a spotlight for the service enhancement transformation, which we call SET. And then we'll follow that with some questions and answer time. So now I am going to pass it to Provost Johnson for some opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Sherry, and welcome to all of you. I'm glad you could connect to what is now the fourth of our Night Vision forums. As you all know, I think Night Vision is an effort to modernize our business processes, and it has two real components. First is technology, replacing much of our PeopleSoft system with Workday. This is going to move from what is really a good technology, but dated, to something that's state-of-the-art and something that's more appropriate for an institution of our size and complexity, and I think potential. The project also provides an opportunity that we'll talk about more today to evaluate how we conduct our business processes. So SET is intended to help us first to take full advantage of Workday, but also to replace some relatively archaic business processes by better approaches. And my take on this is the following. UCF has advanced tremendously quickly on the academic side in relatively short length of time. But people working on the business side, the business aspects of the university, have just not been given a similar opportunity. I think we have many great people carrying out functions associated with HR and purchasing and travel and everything else, but people are held back by what is now really a dated system. And I believe that most of us will end up truly appreciating the relatively streamlined approach that Night Vision will bring. And I will admit, we might not appreciate it on day one, but I think soon enough, once the sort of initial friction and bumps are dealt with. So I'm very grateful that you're here today. It's important to our success that those of you who are most affected pay attention to what's going on with Night Vision, not just to learn, but to help shape it. We've provided a number of engagement opportunities for those of you who know best. It's the newsletters and open forums, advisory groups, information sessions, and please, I ask you to please step up to provide feedback. The people present today are the most knowledgeable members of our campus community, and your ideas are very important. Let me end by thanking you for participating today, and I hope very much that we'll hear from you in the questions and answers session that'll take place to conclude this today. So welcome and thank you. And Sherry, it's back to you.
Thank you, Provost Johnson. We really appreciate that. And I also am grateful for everyone here. All right, so, oops, you should see a slide now that says Night Vision Program. And we're going to talk just a little bit about what the overarching Night Vision program is. Some of you have seen some elements of this before, and then we're going to go into the SET program. So first, I'd like to just share with you our guiding principles. Through all of our efforts, we are following these guiding principles, standardizing and simplifying processes by maintaining a Workday first mindset, striving to use out-of-the-box functionality, and seeking to standardize the technology we use across all units. We will be transforming UCF's business processes to follow best practices, remaining consistent across units, and offering improved service. And SET is a big part of that. We are seeking measurable results, tracking key project and institutional performance metrics to measure ongoing performance and increased efficiencies as we move forward. Transparency and inclusivity. You hear a lot about these, and these are critical to the program. We are making decisions transparently. We're getting input. We're sharing information frequently, and we're asking for input along the way. So we hope that you will provide some. And we'll share some forums for that later on in the presentation. Finally, the project team members and program governance groups will be empowered to make crucial decisions along the way and be held accountable for following these guiding principles. So our night vision mission and scope. Our mission is, the night vision team has been tasked with transforming the way UCF works through transparent, efficient, and compliant best practices, utilizing state-of-the-art technologies to enhance services and outcomes that support excellence in education and research. And this aligns with the overarching goals of the university. And to support this mission, we start with, first and foremost, we'll be implementing the Workday Cloud ERP. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's a software that we use to run our business. And our first phase is to implement the HR and finance functions. And as you can see, you don't need to read all of these, there are a lot of functions that we're implementing. There are a number of integrations, and most of these will be implemented through phase 1, which will go live in July of 2022. And a few of these, like learning management, performance management, adaptive phase 2, those will go live within 6 months after we go live with Workday in July of 2022. Next, we have reporting and analytics. And it's critical that we have timely data and financial reporting enabling data-supported decision-making. This includes Workday reporting, enterprise analytics, data warehousing, and data governance. Enterprise standard, custom applications, replacements for PeopleSoft. We're shortening this, or we're abbreviating this as CARP. So if anyone likes CARP, that's an interesting acronym. And we have built many custom applications in PeopleSoft over the years. The key management system, for example, the faculty tenure and promotion system. These are all very customized applications that we built in PeopleSoft. They're not typically in an ERP system, and we need to make plans to replace them. So we do have a project to make a plan for all of these and make sure that we can function as an organization and not remove critical functions that you already have. Enterprise standard tools, we are implementing an identity management system to manage identities and user accounts. And this is happening more on the back end. Not a lot of folks will be exposed to this, but it will make the systems work, and it will make Workday work better as well. Same thing with the Informatica integrations. It will allow Workday and other systems to talk to applications across the university. Adaptive planning, budget, and forecasting tool. We have implemented this in phase 1, and we will be implementing a newer version of it, or a second phase of it, in the fall of 2022. And that will have additional functionality, and it will be incorporated or integrated with Workday. PeopleSoft retrofits. We have to make changes in PeopleSoft in order to make Workday work. So PeopleSoft and Workday have to talk to each other. So the existing functions in PeopleSoft Student and some of the applications that are attached to the student system, they have to be modified slightly so that we can have Workday talk to those systems and allow that functionality to continue to work. So there is a project associated with that as well. And finally, we have SET. And SET is an important element and helps us with enhancing our HR and finance transformation, or enhance HR and finance services. And we are going to focus most of our discussion today on that. Our goal is to improve employee and customer experiences as we go forward. We have a number of folks who are sharing some important information around SET today. We've got Gerald Hector, our Senior Vice President of Administration and Finance, and our CFO. He's also one of our 3 executive sponsors, alongside Provost Johnson and Matt Hall, CIO Matt Hall. Joel Levinson, our Assistant Vice President for Tax, Payables, and Procurement. He is one of our set leaders focusing on procurement and tax. Maureen Bender, our Associate Vice President for Human Resources and our CHRO. She is one of our set leaders and a BOC member. Mike Sink, our Associate Vice President and Deputy CIO. He is also our BOC chair, or one of our 2 BOC chairs, alongside Kathy Mitchell, who's our Associate Vice President of Financial Initiatives. Misty Shepard, Senior Associate Vice President for Financial Affairs, and she is a set leader and a member of our Executive Steering Committee for the Night Vision program. Sarasa Cruz, Director of HR and Finance for the College of Sciences. She's on the SET Advisory Council. She's also the chair of our Campus Community Advisory Group. And she's also a member of our Business Owners Council, the BOC. So we're excited to have these folks here to present to you today. And now I am going to pass it to Gerald for just a few moments.
Well, thank you, Sherry, and thank you, colleagues, for all being here today. And this is a very important time, a very important, I say sometimes a seminal moment in some ways around what we're trying to achieve with our administrative and financial functions here at the institution. As Sherry said, one of the main focus today is on SET, and I'm just here to kick off the discussions and just share some of the high-level topics. What we will get through today is an introduction of SET, define the purpose of SET. We'll obviously answer some key questions. There's a question and answer session later in this presentation, also an opportunity for closing remarks. Understand the decisions that have been made to date. Sarasa and Maureen and others will be assisting there. And then also talk about our next steps. Next slide, please. So what is SET? Next slide. So I've been here now almost 8 months, 9 months into my 9th month. And I have spent a tremendous amount of time picking up where this project had started prior to my arrival, Night Vision in general. But being one of the executive sponsors and primarily responsible for HR and finance, I took it upon myself to do a deep dive in almost every functional area that we have with SET and finances, administration, et cetera. And what we're trying to accomplish here with SET is, as listed there on the screen, is customer service. Customer service meaning that response times are better, information is known in advance, and we can also track information through our system to throughput and outcome. Some of the things that I've observed firsthand, and also by way of just reviews, is our customer service is tied to our functionalities with our systems, our technology with our systems, and other things that will drive the efficiency and effectiveness that we're trying to achieve. Another area that is very important is around our quality and compliance, the quality of the data that comes out of our system, but more importantly, addressing some of the issues that surround compliance from regulatory bodies and state, federal, whatever those regulatory bodies are. The timeliness and sometimes the duplication of work and effort brings with it some streamlining that we think we can take place there in terms of having processes and procedures that are seamless and repeatable. Right now, we have in some areas, we have what I will say we go through fits and starts because we're still heavily manual in that regard. Clear accountability. One of the things that we're trying to get to is to be accountable and to have folks to own tasks and also be accountable for those tasks so we can track tasks through the system. That's something that's going to be key for us as well. One of the more pivotal areas as well is consistency. We have a very distributed and disaggregated model here at the university. And one of the things that we have noticed, both electronically and in the manual processes that we have, there isn't a consistency across colleges, units, wherever they are situated within the organization or across the campus. there is not consistency in how certain things are done. We need a guardrails, if you will, to help us in that regard. And I've mentioned before the enhanced use of technology. Technology is our friend. It's a tool, and we should utilize it to maximize the effectiveness and the efficiency, and quite frankly, to reduce a lot of the manual natured work that we have. And the final area that Seth will touch on is around clear career paths. Right now, we have folks that are doing roles, and they were placed into roles not necessarily having the backgrounds for the roles or been given the support that they need in order for them to be successful. There will be a targeted effort around professional development, career path, linear growth, and things of that nature, because that is a key part of what we have to do here at the university. Next slide, please. Why are we moving forward with SET? Quite frankly, it is driven by, and our president have shared this before, we are in a mode now where our operational effectiveness, our efficiency will help us to have a platform on which we can stand to realize the goals put forward for our president, by our president, where we want to become the nation's and the world's leading public metropolitan research university, or be in that category. So this provides for us an opportunity to level set, look at the stellar academic research and public service work that we do, and make sure that things are flowing in that direction. Our administrative and financial management tools and outcomes, data inputs, and everything else, we want those things to match the stellar work that we do in those areas. So in other words, it will get us to a point where everything is flowing seamlessly, effectiveness in terms of our output, efficiency in terms of our delivery, and quite frankly, an overall improvement in how we do things on an administrative and technical side of the house. So that's the, achieving that mission excellence is what we're all about with SET, and SET is one cog in a larger wheel. And that larger wheel is around how we deliver on these items, and quite frankly, to lift us to where we're supposed to be in terms of those functions. So the rest of this presentation will be going forward, and you'll hear more from the team members, and I will be back towards the end to close us out with some closing remarks and then take some questions and answers. From here, I'll turn this over now to Mr. Joel Levinson, who will go through some of the steps that he is working through on his portion of this service enhancement transformation. Joel?
Thank you, Gerald. So I'd ask everybody to look at this slide and not pay attention to actually the text on this slide, right? Because it's very busy. So if everybody kind of has been through a presentation where I've spoken before, let's look at the slide, but let's walk through it and talk through it together, right? I think, you know, when it comes to the purpose of the slide, let's walk through an example. So you either get a faculty member or a dean that walks to you and says, I need to travel, right? So fundamentally, you're already talking about one university policy when it comes to reimbursement for travel in conjunction with the travel manual, right? Afterwards, you get the complication of, I'm going to travel internationally. So looking through the university procedures and policies, just on a spreadsheet that I've developed, there's at least 5 you need to comply with. There's policy for foreign nationals, perhaps it's a study abroad policy. What happens if this travel is going to Syria, which would kick in the travel to restricted destinations? Are you registered for travel insurance, which involves UCF Global's approval? Are you using the appropriate university funds, right? So if you're an auxiliary funded unit, you know, is E&G an appropriate source of funds here? That kind of stuff. On top of that, I believe we're still in a COVID situation, right? So there's also emergency policies too. So the reality is, I think our current procedures and processes don't really cater to the maximum efficiency that we could achieve through SET and through Workday. So I want to stress that, you know, it's no fault of people. I think it's kind of what we're dealing with today when it comes to the tools available to us and our current procedures. So we're trying to evolve those, make sure that they're most efficient, and also specialize the folks that are interacting when it comes to, I need something done. What we'd like to do is max or minimize the time from I need X done at the top to when will it be done? And that's the purpose of SET and Workday. So hearing all of that, I just want to let everybody know that everybody's a great person. We got to get our procedures in place to make sure that we give them the tools and training involved so that they could be the best at what they could be in their jobs. So with that and the nuances of international travel, which probably turned a lot of people off, but that's okay. I accept that. Let me turn this over to Mike Sink, Senior Associate VP and Deputy CIO, and also one of the most phenomenal people I've ever met in my life. So Mike, it's up to you.
Wow, thank you, Joel. Yeah, so today's spotlight for Night Vision is on the Service Enhancement Transformation, or SET, which is an integral part of a much larger comprehensive program. So the comprehensive nature of Night Vision involves projects that include the technology tools upgrades, process improvements, but it also includes a focus on the people and the way that they are organized to perform the work to be done using the new tools and administrative processes. Let's go ahead and jump to the next slide, please. So again, the Night Vision program includes many different elements that are intended to incorporate the people, the processes, and the technology perspectives required to transform the way that we operate here at UCF. The migration from PeopleSoft to Workday will provide a more modern technology platform for conducting administrative activities, and there are other technology process changes that we will be making as well as part of the program. In many ways, the technology will drive some of the changes ahead, but to truly optimize the outcomes of Night Vision, we must also have a focus on the people elements. So SET's going to focus on how we organize our people and how they interact with each other in using the new technology we're implementing. The people, process, and technology are all intertwined, as you can see here on the slide. And as we're configuring the new systems and laying down the processes that we will use, the necessary roles and responsibilities will have to be defined with the goal of providing better service and looking for opportunities to increase the quality and accuracy while reducing the amount of time and effort to deliver. In addition to assigning clearly defined roles and responsibilities in Workday, SET's going to ensure that we have better documentation and training also to provide the best possible support to our colleges and divisions across the institution. So if you have a need, it's important to understand how to navigate to get your needs met and to get the support you need when you need it. Because this is such a large program and involves a lot of change, having a focus on the people element through SET is an important part of the program and will be in step with the technology and process changes that we'll make. So again, we just wanted to talk about how SET connects with Workday. So we're going through this SET transformation in lockstep with the technology changes to make sure that whatever we're configuring in Workday aligns with a better organizational model going forward. So now I'm going to turn it over to Misty Shepard, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the SET model decision that we've made.
Thanks, Mike. As mentioned earlier, Workday will guide many organizational design decisions. The activity assessments that many of you participated in also provided valuable guidance. Best practices across countless other institutions will be another big factor as we move forward. But we all know UCF is not like any other place. A top performer for social mobility, the #1 supplier of graduates to U.S. aerospace and defense industries, #1 for hospitality and tourism management, and already one of the most innovative universities in the nation and climbing. Now we need all of your help to ensure we identify what is working well, so we bring that forward and leave the rest behind as we all take this transformational step together to elevate UCF to the next level and claim our rightful place as a top 50 metropolitan university. So with the model, and the help of many of you, the structural framework for service delivery has been drafted. We'll need your input to build it out further. The first circle that you see focuses on the college and division business centers and HR and academic resource centers. This is the high-level framework for the SET model. It unifies finance and HR activity at the college and division level into specialist roles. Specialists will either be focused in finance or in HR, no longer spread thin among multiple facets and roles. The number of these roles will match the size of the college and division they support. Some smaller colleges may even share these roles. These specialists would be embedded in the college and division, be part of their team and incorporated in their meetings and culture, creating an invaluable advisor and business advocate for the colleges they serve. The next circle focuses on the connection to the central offices. They will have meaningful connection to central office support for training, professional development, and functional accountability. A strong communication channel for sharing updates in the ever-changing regulatory world we operate in, as well as college-specific challenges that need a university-wide solution. That connection will help empower the college division centers with increased decisions and approval rights, removing the frustrating time and need for back and forth with central offices. And the third circle is the Administrative Service Center. This will provide support for employee questions, process and policy clarifications, and help with navigating the service elements of the new Workday system, in addition to a few select high-volume transaction work. This service center will also provide backup for college and division centers, ensuring business continuity when individuals in the college and division centers take leave. The health of our staff being a priority, and no one should feel unable to utilize their PTO because there's no backup for the critical work they provide. These three elements will meld together fluidly to transform the employee and customer service experience to achieve operational excellence across the institution and creating one UCF.
We're going to pass
To Sarasa.
Thank you. So pass it to Sarasa. Thank you.
Can someone please start my video? Thank you. Sorry for that technical difficulty. Just wanted to go a little bit further into those details. The services that are included in the SET discussions are related to HR, finance, procurement, payroll, and post-award support. We have outlined some of these examples, which can change as we progress in this process and get your additional continued feedback. In the current state, these activities are a fraction of a lot of people's responsibilities today. SET will be our opportunity for existing staff to focus in HR, finance, or research administration. This helps us prepare for Workday by reducing the number of trainings each position will have to conduct. It will also give us the opportunity to develop teams at the college and division level where we get to focus on our specialized areas, but work as a team to ensure that we are providing quality services. In this model, it does not mean that there will be functions that are not still done in the units and departments. They must be done in the departments and units. They require local level knowledge. We've included a list of those examples that must stay at the local level. And again, we continue to have more conversations and need to get additional feedback about what these roles and responsibilities will be. I truly mean this is our opportunity to reimagine how we do work across the institution. In particular for me, we need to better organize so that we actually have trained colleagues that can cover our duties when we are on planned or unplanned leave. This will only occur if we define our roles and responsibilities, develop standard operating procedures, and offer meaning training, which is all things that the university offices had committed to. The next slide will try to give you a visual representation of what we're thinking about within those different business centers and academic resources. No, the titles don't mean anything. We haven't figured out the number of individuals. It's just to give you a concept of how those individuals at those different levels would be supported to be able to carry out the services, and that we would be working as a team as well. There will be later in this process in which we will have to go through transition. Well, first we have to identify what is the right size for the services and transactions that are taking place in different colleges. And again, yes, as Misty Shepherd had mentioned, maybe there's an opportunity for combined services so we could leverage the number of staff to ensure that we have coverage if we're out unexpectedly or even planned. Once those have been identified, then we will be able to embark on transition plans to hopefully identify areas in which you are already experts in, and so that you can focus in those particular areas by your choice, and then we can add the additional training resources to ensure that you're truly successful in the areas that you want to specialize in. Thank you. And I'm going to hand it over to Gerald to discuss how we arrived at this decision.
I actually don't think that Gerald is back yet. He had to pop off for a few minutes. So this is Maureen Binder. I'm the CHRO and on a SET leadership team and Business Owners Council. We had a lot of discussions with a lot of different groups in making the decision on how to organize SET. We have a number, if you look at this matrix, we have stakeholders across the top, and we have key decisions down the column on the left. And we had a number of different meetings, many meetings, many Zoom calls and discussions where we sought input and feedback from the perspectives of the different stakeholders. And so from all of this information, we were able to gather and glean what was important to all of the different parties and make a recommendation to our executive sponsors. And the decision was communicated a week ago last Friday. And I understand that a lot of what was in that communication may not have been completely clear. And this is why we wanted to focus in on the SET project today as part of our overall night vision program. Next slide, please. So what is the plan? Next slide. So we're just getting started. There's a lot of work that really needs to be done now that we know what the model is going to be. The slide that Sarasa talked to with HR on one side and finance on the other. So our next steps are we need to build out the model details. We need to have job descriptions. We need to have roles, responsibilities, and levels. One reason why is so that our Workday leads can program the security, but the other reason we need to define this is so all of you know what is going on and what the positions would entail, and allow you to determine what roles you might be interested in. So we will create a robust communication plan, and we will communicate often, and we will use the website. We will have probably more forum opportunities like this. So far, we've been doing these quarterly. We believe we need to increase the number of times we communicate broadly so that questions can be asked and answers can be given. We need to develop a workforce transition plan, a transition plan that again talks about the timeline, the roles that are available, how you would go about expressing interest in those roles. The other thing we need to do, and we're committed to doing, is identifying transition teams, individuals within your division or college that have very specific information about what is available, what the process is to express interest, and how to help counsel you and make sure that your questions are being answered locally, not through the central office, but locally. We also want to make sure that everyone understands all of the responsibilities that you have today. So as we've talked about, many individuals handle multiple different kinds of processes, maybe both travel and the HR role. And since we're going to specialize those, we need to make sure that everything that you do is accounted for. And those transition team leaders will assist in making sure that your roles and your duties and responsibilities are not forgotten or confused. And then again, we'll continue to engage with stakeholders and have more details available to answer your key questions. But I want to stress that we're just now getting started and there's a lot that we have to figure out. We're going to be asking for your input. We're going to be asking for you to provide information to us, and we really do appreciate your partnering with us as we all walk through this journey together. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sherry.
Thank you, Maureen. So just to continue what Maureen has been chatting about, we have a plan. There is a high-level timeline at this point. The first two items on the plan, preparing for service delivery and determining the high-level model for SET, those have both been completed, and we just shared the high-level model for SET with you this afternoon. There is a lot of work to do moving forward, so now the real work begins. And we have already started sharing the SET model with the Workday team so that they can configure the right roles and responsibilities within the system. We'll be working on a robust change management and communication plan to keep you all informed. We will continue to engage stakeholders and work with the advisory committee, the SET advisory committee, and others on key steps. Very soon, before we make any hiring decisions or change to responsibilities, we will build a workforce transition plan. And Maureen just mentioned this, and that will outline the details of how everything will proceed. And each individual who's affected by this will have one-on-one discussions with members of that transition team. Those transition team members will be located within the units for the folks that are affected. So we have a long way to go before those transition plans are developed, but just know that there will be individual plans for individuals, and we want to make sure that this is a good thing for every employee. The transition teams will be identified later this year and engaged through next June in helping everyone understand exactly how this will impact them and ensure that they have a personal connection to this project. A number of activities will begin in the new year. Starting in January, we'll be identifying a plan for office space, technology, and logistical needs. Develop a training plan for SET staff to prepare them for the new jobs, both inside the Workday system and outside of it. And we'll help the campus prepare for SET services and make it very clear how to get things done in this new world. All of this comes together next July 1 when Workday goes live, alongside this new SET model. That key date is still not the end. There will be a lot of optimization to Workday, and we will monitor the services within SET to help stabilize them and begin the continuous improvement that needs to happen in order to make sure customer service and customer feedback is addressed, and that we're following governance processes. All right, and now I'm going to pass it back to Misty.
Thanks, Jerry. So about now, we can hear the collective question coming from all of you. What does this mean for me? The simple answer is opportunity. We have the basic walls of the model established through the 3 intersecting centers, but there's a lot of work to be done to build it out completely, and we don't have all the answers at this state in the project. But this is where you come in. There will be multiple opportunities for each of you to provide thoughts and honest feedback. So please subscribe to the resources, get familiar with the website. We greatly appreciate your patience and involvement. Stay connected and informed. Think about the best parts of your current role, the things you like least, and the things you feel like you'd like to further develop. Ask questions. Get excited. We're just getting started. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And I believe we have, I think Gerald has returned. Cheryl, oh, thank you. Perfect.
I'm here. So colleagues, I was taking a look in the chat and some of the
Gerald,
questions.
just so everybody knows, you're displaying as Joel Evanson, which is amusing to me. But just so everybody knows, when Gerald's talking, he's actually Gerald Hector.
Okay. Thanks, Joel. So colleagues, you've heard where we are with this process. I did see a number of questions in the chat and comments, and we will try to get to all of them this afternoon. I will say in closing that there is quite a bit of angst and anxiety around this. I've heard from folks both via just regular passing on the campus, emails, texts, calls about all of this. And this is a lot. But I will say that one of the things that you will see from this group and others as we go through this process is the focus on transparency. Transparency, and also talking very, very specifically about ownership and accountability for the work that has to be done. Misty just said that we would love for you to engage with us on this, and that is 100% true. We do know that there are some hurdles we have to overcome from past projects. We've heard that loud and clear from the campus community at whole. In general, many meetings that I attend, the topics come up quite a bit. These systems and Workday and Night Vision in general and the set and everything that we have outlined here, they are not a panacea to solve all of the things that we are trying to address. Some of the items that we are tackling right now have been with us for some time. But one of the things I do hope that you will see and come to understand is that we are being purposeful in our engagement. We're being purposeful with our transparency. And we do hope that your ideas and your thoughts, you will bring them forward, especially as these ideas start to take shape, systems are configured, and professional development and training on how to use these systems come forward. There's also something that I think is prudent to share, just still going through this process, is when I look at all of the efficiencies that can be garnered, and I look at how we spend and allocate our resources across this institution, there are opportunities for us to address things that have been left unanswered for some time, if I'm to listen to all of the comments and questions that come my way. If we are able to appropriately allocate our resources, that will free up resources to make one of the better investments that we can make here at UCF, and that is in our people. That's something that we are actively working on as we speak right now. The budget office, academic affairs, the finance office, and others are all looking into human resources as well, is to figure out how we free allocated funds in order to be able to make some of the investments that are necessary in our people. You will hear more about this in the coming days, but this is part of when we can allocate resources such that they work better for us, lifting this institution, but at the same time allow for us to make the investments. It just pushes us to a new level and a new space. So I wanted to close this conversation by acknowledging all of what we have heard. We have heard you, and we are definitely tackling these issues head on, and you will hear more about this in the days to come. So with that, Sherry, I'll turn it back over to you, and we will talk through the question and answer portion of this presentation, and we'd be more than happy to answer. The last thing I will say is if we don't get to all the questions today, we will log all your questions, and we will make sure that we provide responses to your questions, and we will post them to our website so that it will be one that everyone can see and absorb and poke at. But at the same time, this is a collaboration. We can't do this on our own, and we're soliciting your help and your feedback to help us get there. So with that, Sherry, turn it back over to you.
Thanks so much, Gerald. So we're going to move into the question and answer portion. And again, you can submit questions, and I see that there's many good questions that have been asked, and you can also vote up those questions. And we will start by answering the questions that have the most votes and move down from there. I'd like to introduce Kelly Ferris. She is our organizational change management analyst for Night Vision, and we're excited to have her here. She is going to be facilitating our Q&A. So I'm going to hand it over to Kelly, and she will ask our panelists I'm going to take the slide deck down, and she's going to ask the panelists the questions. So bear with me for a moment. trying to stop sharing. Have I stopped sharing?
We see, I don't think that, I don't see your PowerPoint up anymore, Sherry. I think you're
Thank
good.
you.
All right, thank you so much. Just give me 1 moment. We'll start sharing your questions and getting those answered. Okay, this one is for Maureen. I'm surprised there will be new position descriptions to manage these new processes when we're still in the throes of the class and compensation project, where many issues around roles have not been resolved.
Thank you for asking that question. So we have to put together new position descriptions because we're going to specialize roles. So as Misty said earlier, we're not going to have individuals who have a combined role of, for example, doing purchases and travel along with their HR responsibilities. Again, this is going to allow us to segregate the training because as someone else indicated in the chat or in the Q&A, there's a lot that needs to be learned and people have to be trained how to use different Workday processes and the application itself. So we're trying to specialize the roles. And in order to do that, we do have to formulate new position descriptions so that individuals will know what they're responsible for and know what they're going to be training on and what they will be accountable for. In terms of the class and comp project, this is going to take over because this is the new technology that is coming and we need to prepare for it. There are issues that have not been resolved with the class and comp project, and we definitely hope to be able to resolve those. But with regard to Workday and SET, we have to concentrate on these as we segregate responsibilities and go into the new model.
Thank you, Maureen.
And if I might, Kelly, just to
Yes, ma'am.
piggyback on what Maureen just mentioned, the class and compensation issue is one that we are working on strategically looking at that as well. That has to be broken back down and built back up. I will tell you one of the things that is a challenge for us in looking at all of this is how it was rolled out and how decisions were made to move forward with the comp and classification study, and the data and funding and all of the other variables you would consider weren't necessarily all in place and aligned. And that's where we are going to be looking at this in a more strategic way. And that's part of the transparency that you will see going forward, is that we will not move forward on something until all of those data elements and data points are aligned, so that when we move forward with an end in sight. So that's a very good question, but we will continue to stress that we are just getting started. And there's some things we're doing with the budget and things of that nature as we learn more about our budget and, quite frankly, how we operate here at the university. So you will be hearing more about that in the weeks and months to come, but it is something that we're actively looking at.
Thank you, Gerald. This next one is for Joel. This is all great information, but it is very high level. When will we see more detailed information so we can all see what the true reorganization of UCF will be?
So I'll take a stab at that. So it's not too long ago that we decided to implement the SET model, right? So therefore, we need to kind of figure out what processes and procedures we need to go, what needs to be processed through the SET model versus what needs to be retained within the college. So today, do we have that answer? The answer is no. And I believe all the executive sponsors and panels have spoken to that. We hope to push that out as soon as we possibly can. I would imagine that's within a month. My Outlook calendar is booked with specific SET integrations when it comes to Workday. And that's happening throughout September. So I can't imagine any announcement happening before the end of the month. So hopefully as soon as October, but don't hold that expectation to me.
Thank you, Joel. This next question is for Sarasa. So will individual academic units / schools / departments still have their own HR budget coordinators?
That's a great question. So in the business and HR partner model, you would still have someone that's primarily dedicated to support your school, unit, center, institute. but they will be collectively put into a team within the HR partner so that there is a backup role. So you may call this particular individual for all HR academic related services, but there's going to be someone as a backup if they should happen to be out on a planned basis or on an unplanned basis. But they would not technically necessarily have to be located within that entity.
Thank you, Sarissa. This next one can be for Maureen or Misty. It's kind of a double question that they're kind of related. So do we have to apply and compete for our own positions? And could this negatively affect staff in the college or department?
As I said earlier, we are going to put together a transition team, a workforce transition plan, which will inform a workforce transition team within your local area, whether it's in your college or your division. And we will, because we're specializing roles, we want individuals to have the choice of what they do. And so we will be asking for an expression of interest. What would they rather do? Knowing that individuals currently wear multiple hats. And if there's an area that you would rather specialize in, whether it be on the finance accounting side, on the HR side, you will have an opportunity to tell us what that interest is. There's no intention for negatively affecting staff. And we want everyone to be able to have a say-so in what their future going forward looks like with their career and their career path.
Thank you, Maureen. All right, this next one is for Gerald. Does this mean new position descriptions for HR and or finance staff? Specifically, is there going to be an opportunity to move us higher into the pay grades? Right now, many of us were placed at the pay grade minimum.
Good question. I would say we're reviewing that right now. I will say two things because I've been tracking the chat as well. We are taking a comprehensive look at human resources in terms of people in general. There's one of the questions if there's going to be a move to lift the pay raises. The answer to that is yes. You will be hearing about that in the next couple of days or so. We're actually working on that behind the scenes right now. This morning, we had a very fruitful conversation. So when we look at lifting the pay raises this week, pretty much, we're also going to be tackling the comp and classification. One is more immediate that we can handle. The other has to be more strategic. So I would say in terms of position descriptions, pay grades, credentials, all of those things will be a part of this reboot, if you will, on the comp and classification. One thing we do not want to do is to put something out and have the hopes that there is funding for it. That's part of the challenge we have with the current feeling and sentiments about the comp and classification, but we are going to be very, very purposeful about it. So I kind of answered two questions from the chat in one, but that's how we're looking at it. Immediate, strategic, but it's all related to how do we invest in our most valuable asset, which is our people. So pretty confident in saying this week there will be information coming out about pay raises and things of that nature, but the comp and class is a more longer term type scenario we have to go through.
Thank you, Gerald. This next one is for Misty. With so many people from many departments being affected by the transition of financials access, procurement, travel, HR, and reporting, to the Academic Affairs Business Center, this will leave a large number of people that will no longer have access to financials. Is the university prepared to lose that many people's skills moving forward with Workday and Night Vision?
Thanks. So I would first say, no, the university is not looking to lose any valuable skills or resources that currently exist. We're looking to build upon those skills and resources. Workday, by its creation and configuration, might put more restrictions on who has financial access. This is just part of the university controls. But again, as we've been saying, there's a lot that hasn't been completely rolled out yet as to who will have those access and credentials. And everybody will serve a valuable role in that process going forward.
Thank you, Misty. This next one's for Maureen. This whole process sounds very alienating to me. It harkens back to the 1950s typing pools. When you say specialize, I hear that I will only be doing one thing all day and every day. That will be horrible.
Well, first of all, I guess I would say, when we say specialize, it doesn't mean that you will be doing one thing all day, every day. As we all know, there are a number of different things in the finance area, procurement area, or HR area that go into making up a job. We do want to specialize in terms of you have more focus on, for example, HR transactions or financial transactions, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be doing the same one all day, every day. Again, we're trying to become efficient. We're trying to become effective and use the technology as well as we can. By no means will you just be doing one process or one task all day, every day. That's probably not even possible in today's world. So I guess if anyone else, Misty, if you want to comment on that in terms of the financial or Joel area.
Yeah, I would just say that specialization does not equate to isolation, right? So therefore, we need you to be specialized in a financial process, but that doesn't mean you're going to be doing the same thing every day. So if that was the interpretation, that was miscommunication on our part.
And I will say, having been at an institution that has deployed both the HR and the finance, a centralized shared services model, that won't be what happens. So you could be in HR, you could learn new skills around not only hiring or onboarding, you can learn skills around anything to do with HR, because those people will become the experts that are serving the various units. So as I shared with the team many times before, when I was at my former institution, I had an HR person that pretty much helped me with everything I had to do related to personnel. And that person's job was very broad, very encompassing. The same is true with anything you do within the purchasing or just procurement realm. If you look at how UCF currently today does its procurement, it's fine, but we are not necessarily in a mode where some of our competitors and peers are, where they employ something called strategic sourcing, where we're taking economies of scale, where we're taking individuals who now become subject matter experts in how you procure almost any facet of goods and services at the institution, provides flexibility across the different disciplines in the academic side of the house. So it is a very robust and, quite frankly, enterprising way for someone to carve out, if you will, an opportunity for growth and development. And the university will stand behind those individuals with professional development and making sure that they're successful.
And if I could add one more thing, just to go back to Misty's response and Gerald's response, that the idea is to have an outline roles and responsibilities at every level so that we can ensure that you have the appropriate training and access to the information that you need to be able to do it at the local level, so that you don't have to go 5 different people to get all of the information that you need to do your job.
And Sarasa, I think one of the key words that you threw out there was training, right? And I can't stress that enough. And every SET executive sponsor would agree that we can't make changes without emphasizing training to get the people we have in place right now to be able to do their jobs effectively. So please understand that training is an emphasis of everybody when it comes to SET.
Thank you, Sarasa and Joel. This next one is for Sarasa. If I'm understanding correctly, HR, purchasing, travel, etc., would not be employed by the department, but by a central office and then assigned to the college. So it would be possible that the person we have now would not be assigned to us.
Those are some great questions and some things that we still need to continue to figure out, because some things can be initiated at the local level and then they're just kind of carried out by the business center. So it is kind of mirroring, we're going to learn more about how Workday functions and sort of how that needs to align with the services that we have. So to answer it, it's kind of a mixture of both. I think some can be initiated at the local level, some can be implemented at the business center. It kind of just really depends on what we're trying to achieve and what information is needed for that process to be successful. To answer your other question, and this may come back to the transition team, do you have someone who's 100% HR, budget, travel, etc.? Are we going to have a conversation about that position joining the business center? Absolutely, absolutely. And then we want them to have that opportunity to focus in a particular area, still getting access and exposure to those other areas because we're going to have to work as a team. So a lot of that I think is going to get worked out as to what everybody's referring to as the workforce transition teams and those very direct conversations individually.
Thank you, Stressa. This next one is for Provost Johnson. We keep hearing about opportunities that will be available to current UCF staff through this process, but why aren't we providing current opportunities to our staff already?
Not really sure how to answer that question. I think there are and always have been opportunities, and that positions come empty. There are searches, people apply internally and externally for them. So there's been opportunities. I think the point we're trying to make here is not that there weren't opportunities before, but that we're not trying to go out and hire a whole bunch of strangers to come in and run this new organizational model. We, in fact, wish to take care of the talent that we have in place. We hope as the thing gets less general and top level and more local and specific, people who will look close, you guys who are on this in this forum today, will look closely and ask yourself, what here looks interesting, exciting, or like a good opportunity for me, and consider going that way. And so that's what we mean when we try to make it clear that the opportunities here are for the people who are working at UCF. There'll be some shakeup, by which I mean, we've been doing certain things the same way as long as I've been here, which is forever and probably before that. So some things will be done differently in the future. And I hope people look at it as opportunity, not as danger. That's the reason for this kind of language.
Thank you, Provost Johnson. The next one is for Matt Hall, and bear with me, this is a bit of a long one. How many more systems will we all learn? Has anyone considered we have never used the same platform for more than 5 years, and the cost of training and changing systems constantly, plus the stress for staff and faculty to consistently change systems? Leadership changes and systems seem to change with no regard for the impact of these never-ending learning on those of us who have to use these systems and have a job to serve students daily and not learn new tools.
So a bit of an editorial, a bit of a question in there.
Yes.
We have around 1,100 different IT systems, versions of systems, various systems with various user interfaces. Workday in this particular domain, HR and finance, and procurement is going to simplify what we have a modern user experience coming in Workday. That was part of the institution's selection, was to reduce the learning time and change management burden on our staff. But to be quite honestly assessing this problem, everything we do in higher education, research, and teaching has a very strong IT component. Everybody has a tool that does something new or interesting with. I think the complexity of tools will not go away, but we want to be sensitive to the fact that we're going to select tools that allow us the lowest learning curve possible. And in Workday, the learning curve for PeopleSoft will be this. Workday is this, because it is a modern user interface, both elegantly provided on a mobility platform. So whether you're on an iPad, whether you're on a mobile phone, or whether you're on a PC, they're going to have a similar feel. So you're going to be able to navigate it more quickly from place to place to place and get it in the way you want it. So I feel confident that Workday's usability speaks to a lot of that sort of learning curve issues. But I have to concede, there is nothing we're going to face but increased complexity and information technology deployments because we're asked to do so many things. So what we got to do is select things that bend the curve down on learning and not just say that we can't learn more. Everything's IT centric. So we have a great appreciation for the fact that these are complex systems, and we wanted to do what we can, particularly with the creation of job aids. Training and development are a big part of this, and we want to make sure people have the job aids they need developed. And that's a big part of sharing the team's plan, is to develop those job aids as it relates to HR and finance and procurement.
I think everybody agrees change is hard, right? And we all acknowledge that. And we're attempting to kind of develop these training processes and make sure that the transition to change is as easy as possible for the community, right? We know that we can't just turn on Workday, right, and expect people to be functional. We got to get you guys and ourselves included the ability to perform as effectively as possible.
Thank you, Matt and Joel. Next question is for Gerald. We have already seen how centralized services at this university have been horrible. Take UCFIT. They are a mess, and it gets worse every day. If the entire university service transforms to this, we will all fall apart.
Yes, good question. So what I can say is, when I first heard about UCFIT, I started asking the questions, what happened? How could we have been this off kilter? But as I've talked to various people, those that are newer, those that were here, I've met with deans and vice presidents and others on various and sundry occasions. It's transparency and communication. It's setting a plan and sticking to that plan. Now, some of the things anecdotally shared with me, I wasn't here, so I can't comment on them beyond just saying, if that is indeed what happened, project management needed to have been instituted a little bit differently. I don't know that for a fact, but the end result that we end up with is where we are today. Hence, us being on the phone with, this Zoom call with you in an open forum, basically opening it up to the entire campus to hear, to provide their input. One of the key things I've been stressing with the team is that we have to hear from the frontline users. Because as I have gone around, we have a tremendous, as Matt just said, number of systems that are utilized. People are using Microsoft Excel. Recently, I did a tour with Rebecca Richards on some budget and finance matters. And quite frankly, I can say, without even putting my tongue in my cheek, saying we got 13 different ways how to operate. We have no guardrails around certain key things that you could think are standardized. And as a new executive coming in, just asking the questions, just tell me what you do. I call it a 4-year-old tour. And I'll ask a question, and as they're explaining to me, they're explaining what UCF has always done. But there are tools and there are methodologies that institutions have implemented that work. What we're doing here is not something that's new. As Joel just said, it's change, and change is hard. But we have enough folks and examples to point to that we can get there. I don't believe that you will see this project being discussed in the background and then something hoisted onto the campus or to the colleges. It will be a symbiotic almost discussion and relationship for us to be successful. And that's something that we will be pushing this entire fiscal year to mitigate some of the things that we're experiencing with UCFIT, or the perceptions around the UCFIT and what it means for the institution. We'll just take a different route and get to a better outcome. That is our goal.
And I'd like to add on to that, to what Gerald said. First of all, the UCFIT people, the personnel, they're a fantastic group of people. I've managed large IT units from Bank of America to the state of Tennessee to California, from sea to shining sea. This is a wonderful group of people. So what Gerald said was very important. What I believe the failure mode is that the expectations were set too high. And Paul Jarley wrote a great memo that he shared amongst the deans as it relates to his view and the collective view of UCFIT, what went wrong, what went right. We oversold the expectations on UCFIT. We said there's going to be beautiful career paths and wonderful things for you, and things will be better, quicker, faster. And I don't think those assertions were done with actual data in hand. They were hopeful aspirations of what might be. From Gerald and Mike and I talking today, we're not going to engage in hopeful aspirations. We're going to set appropriate expectations. And it's imperative that we know that we're going to gain benefit incrementally. We're not going to flip the switch. Angels in heaven come down and sing and shine greatness upon you. We're going to be in it together, that this is a platform to build. And I think that was the big miss, MISS, with UCFIT, is that they over promised the goals of the project, and we didn't deliver on what was promised. So I think we've got to look at how we make declarations, how we make intentional statements, and we don't want to overinflate expectations. We're trying to get that Goldilocks problem solved and hit it in the just right space, and have a good, honest discussion around what we can do, what we can't do, and that we want to do right by the employees of this institution. UCFIT people, HR people, accounting people, they're the backbones that keep this thing rolling. This is some WD-40 on those gears. It's a good group of people.
If I might add a final point, Matt just said something that resonated with me, and I think the campus needs to understand where we are. So I learned recently that in 2003, 2004, when we devolved from the state, and every one of the 12 institutions that make up the SUS devolved from the state, we set up our accounting and financing ledgers to basically be able to report back to the state, right? What we're looking at doing now is instituting a platform that allows us to manage this large institution from a financial, HR, and administrative standpoint, in line with what one can consider best business practices. So when you look at our chart of accounts and you look at how we set up our accounts, just purely on the administrative side of things, you could see where we have to make some adjustments. Like I said earlier, our research here is second to none. Our academic rigor, the students and alums we put out, the public service that we do is way and above anything else most institutions can claim. Our challenge is we instituted system and added systems that has given us and brought us to where we are today. And we have to find ways to get our administrative and financial platforms pivoting towards how we can best manage what we are known internationally for here at UCF. And that's with the people that are already here, great people, but we just need the processes, the 3 Ps, people, process, and performance. And we're trying to tackle all 3. Big lift, but I think we can get it done. I know we can get it done.
Thank you, Gerald and Matt. The next one is for Kathy or Maureen, Kathy Mitchell or Maureen. If roles are going to be specialized and centralized, are some of us going to be moved from our current academic departments into centralized finance and HR offices?
So let me start that one, Maureen, and then you can correct me where I'm wrong or add in. So that's what we talk about the transition teams doing. So we'll go into each college and say, you have this level of transactions on the HR side, and we're thinking then you might need a certain number of people that could centrally or for your college process those transactions. And then we'll look at, well, what sort of employees do you have in your college? And that will be different across all of the colleges. So we will work with the college and say, we're looking for these types of positions. We'll, see what the skill set exists now, and then we'll talk to the employees. Nobody will be forced to go into a centralized position for their college. We will certainly ask, and then if we don't get enough internal candidates, we'll hire from the outside. But then for the folks that are remaining in the college that opted not to come over to some of those more centralized HR or finance positions, then you'll have an opportunity to do something else with your college. And again, that will look different at every college depending on the mix of staffing that exists right now. So, we don't have an exact number. I can't tell you in the College of Sciences, I need, 5 HR people and 6 finance people. We just don't know that yet. But just know that over the next 10 months, that is what we'll be doing, is working with each college to find the best staffing plan for that college.
There's no intent to move anyone into central HR or central finance and accounting. The goal is to keep decisions local within your college or division and to utilize people who are doing those functions and tasks now for those college and divisions. And I think Sarissa said it very well earlier, that local knowledge is really important to provide the best service possible for the employees, the faculty and the staff within that college or division.
I mean, think of the specialized equipment that the College of Engineering purchases. The people that know that and know it the best are the ones that are going to stay involved with that, if at all possible.
Thank you, Kathy Maureen. This next one is also for Maureen. It's in reference to something you touched on earlier. If we currently have both HR and finance responsibilities, with this new model, will we only be doing one?
Yes, that is the intention, that individuals will specialize in either a finance function or an HR function. And that's part of the process of developing a workforce transition plan and having individuals in your college, a transition team, to help you make decisions and really outline for you what are the responsibilities, the tasks, the goal of that position within that college or division. So the answer is yes, and more will be able to be communicated when we have more detail about the position descriptions.
And then to add to that, you'll also be able to receive more specialized training and be able to do more things than you're able to do now without that training. So yes.
But I would also add, in all of our communications, they're inextricably connected, right? I mean, we always talk about the cross functionalities, that an HR director can't be as successful without a good partner when it comes to finance, and vice versa, right? So they will be working together still.
This next one is for Provost Johnson, Sarissa, or Maureen. Will it be up to the college to determine what roles individuals are put into?
The individuals will provide an expression of interest. Once we know how many and what those roles are, the individuals performing those duties and responsibilities now will have an opportunity to say, hey, I want to do this, or I want to do that. And then those decisions will be made. Yes, the college will have, or the division will have input into who is put into that role, for sure. It's very important to make sure that the college and division feel comfortable knowing who's going to be performing what work. And again, we really hope to be able to take advantage of the knowledge that people have currently from their college or division, and knowing who the players are and what specialized things, because even though Workday, we're going to implement it out of the box, plain vanilla with no modifications, there are business processes or there's knowledge that is needed that's important to a college or a division in terms of how that work happens outside of Workday. And so that's all part of it. There's many things that all of you do that have nothing to do with just Workday. It's understanding your customers, understanding your students, understanding all of those things that affect the work that's done in that college or division. Our goal is to maintain that continuity if at all possible.
I could pile on. I think if this is done ideally, then these decisions are really a partnership between the college or division and input from HR. And the reason is that we want to make sure that we cover all the bases of the skills and experience that are needed in a college. And sometimes an outside eye looking over your shoulder can help you come to a better job than when you do it on your own. So, I can easily see agreement, and I can easily see disagreement, but I think those are healthy conversations for both to be engaged in thinking this through for each college or division. Sarissa, do you have a different take on this? You're sitting.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And you know lots about our culture. So it's about conversations, communication, transparency. We just have to work as a team, as part of that transition team, to collectively decide, one, what's the right size of our business center, what those positions and roles are, what's our current talent, what's their desires, and how does that match up? And is it going to be a one-to-one? You're probably right, not exactly, but we'll get through that particular challenge of this, and be in a better place on the other side where we do get supported, get training, have standard operating procedures, all the things that we know that we just don't have today. So every new employee, whether they're even from an internal, maybe another college, they come to our college, we still have to retrain them to do how to do things in the College of Sciences. And so that's sort of some of it. And I think that's what we talk about efficiencies. That's some of the things that you talk about, not necessarily efficiencies to the point where you're able to eliminate jobs. It's efficiencies that we're able to better provide quality services and things of that nature.
Yep. And to piggyback on something Saressa just said, having interacted with a couple of folks, I think it would be an opportunity for them to learn something new. Because I've seen folks that have been put into roles and have work that needs to be done, but no one wants to say, I'm really not sure. So work ends up being duplicated. Then we have frustrations on both sides of the ledger, if you will. I think this is an opportunity for us to also help some folks develop new skill sets and new interests in how we do things here at the university. It's just, in many ways, it's an opening up. I saw in the chat just now, someone talked about whether or not this transparency will move over to the new system. That is our expectation, that what you see here is the transparency that will continue. There are going to be things you'll see in the coming months around me and some others standing flat-footed in front of the campus to answer questions. That's going to be a little bit different, but that's the level of transparency we're going to, and this all fits into that ethos, if you will, of just turning a corner, primarily to build trust, but also to execute and build confidence that we're doing the right things for this institution.
Thank you. The sixth one is also for Provost Johnson. It's 2 questions in one. I think that moving individuals from their current departments where they've thrived for years absolutely will negatively affect staff. I think there's a risk of losing a lot of trained, talented employees. Until now, I felt my years of gaining knowledge and understanding the various entities was appreciated. It sounds now like it was a waste of time growing my knowledge. What about those of us that wear many hats and do not fit in one box?
Yeah, you're actually putting your finger there on what worries me the most about this organizational change. The way I've always looked at this is that we have, in many cases, better people than we deserve because they like their circumstances, right? When you've been in a department or some other unit for a long time, you stayed because it felt right. If it's the best, it's a family, but like a good family, not a dysfunctional family. It feels like the place where you want to be. People rely on your skills and your needs, and they like you and you like them. And I think we have an awful lot of people for whom those relationships within a department really matter, and is a reason that they've stayed at the university, in some cases for decades, some of them longer than me. And so that's been a real concern for me too. So what I would ask, and again, getting back to my other answer, is please don't give up on this too fast. Please, this is potentially a more significant organizational change than we've probably seen. We've had big changes, but sort of place by place, this center, that department, that college, whatever, but we haven't done something like this across the university. Please take a good look. I mean, we are seeking, the way Saressa described it and Maureen, to look at the folks who work within a college, let's say, and ask them to think about what new opportunities are within that college. Many of the people you'd be working with are the people I hope that you like to work with now. You will be supporting the same faculty and students and staff very often that you support now, maybe not in the same way. Maybe the job is less generalist and more focused. That is different. I actually sort of understand the appeal of doing a bajillion things there's a lot of fun to that. But there's also a joy in being a guru, right? The person who is really the knowledgeable go-to. So all I can really do is acknowledge that this is going to be too much for some, a deal breaker for some, but ask as many of you who are willing, please give it a shot. See what's developing, help influence, take a hard look at what's coming, put your name in if something looks of interest. Try to see it as an opportunity, and then see if the opportunity suits you. And I think in many cases, it will turn out to be a good thing. And that's certainly my fondest hope here. And then I'll have to conclude by saying this. We also can't continue the way we've done things in the past. You know, we've neglected those of you who work on the business side of our university. Everything's grown organically. The university expanded like mad. People's jobs took on lots of new things. We didn't add enough staff, right? And people learned to manage it and have done remarkably well. But now we have this opportunity to say, all right, let's try to take a good look at this and think about how to do it as well as we can. This is a chance to go from something comfortable but sort of messy to something which for a time will be uncomfortable, but should fairly quickly function better than we've been able to do things in the past. And I hope you will look and find a happy home in this somewhat different organization structure. And a year from now, I'll say, yeah, actually that was, a scary change, but maybe a good result. And I actually think that is likely the case for the majority of us who work here.
Thank you, Provost Johnson. In the interest of time and out of respect for everyone's time, that was our last question. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Sherry Heron.
Sherry, you're on mute.
You're mute, Sherry.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you to our panelists for answering those questions. We will be taking down all the questions that have been asked, and we will place an update on our website with the answers. That would likely be sometime next week, and we really appreciate your participation. So we would like to make sure that you go to the website, make sure that you're looking for the latest updates. Please subscribe to the newsletter. It will prompt you to subscribe to the newsletter when you go to the website, and certainly that's a great source of information. And don't hesitate to ask questions. We have that feedback link at the bottom of the slide here, and it's also on the website. Please you can ask any questions, provide any feedback. We definitely want to hear from you. So thank you all so much for your participation. We hope you have a great afternoon, and charge on. Go Knights.
Charge on.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Sherry.
Everybody.